Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to be uncovering a totally invisible world that literally exists right at our fingertips. You know, our lives are so seamlessly woven with technology these days, but there's actually this massive hidden environmental story playing out behind every single screen we look at. So let's go ahead and pull back the curtain.
So, quick question for you. Have you ever actually stopped to think if simply turning on your computer, maybe charging your phone overnight, or just doing a quick web search has a real physical impact on the planet? I mean, it's super easy to think of the digital realm as this weightless, invisible thing, but the reality is beautifully and honestly intensely complex.
Just take a look at these everyday habits. We boot up our laptops, we scroll endlessly on our phones, we stream high-def videos, browse the web, and increasingly, we're relying on artificial intelligence. But here's the thing, behind every single click, physical energy is being consumed. Get this, generating just a single AI image can use as much energy as fully charging your smartphone. Wild, right? And this is really where our story of hidden emissions begins.
Okay, to really grasp this, let's quickly get on the same page. The greenhouse effect. It's actually a phenomenal, completely natural thing. Atmospheric gases trap the sun's heat to keep Earth habitable for us. The trouble only started when human activity began pumping way too many excess gases, like carbon dioxide and methane, into the atmosphere, which ends up trapping far too much heat.
Right, so where are all these excess emissions actually coming from? Well, largely, it's just how we power our modern world. Ever since the Industrial Revolution, we've leaned super heavily on fossil fuels. You know, coal, oil, and natural gas. And sure, they built our cities and powered our cars, but the massive trade-off has been staggering amounts of carbon dioxide pumped straight into the atmosphere.
This brings us to the heart of what I call the tech paradox. On one hand, you have the visible device. Your laptop sits quietly on your desk, right? It's smokeless, sleek, and seems completely harmless. But secretly, it's tethered to this massive, invisible infrastructure of power plants, global supply chains, and enormous resource extraction operations.
Actually, a device's carbon footprint starts way before you ever take it out of the box. First, raw materials have to be extracted from the earth. Then comes the wildly energy-intensive process of manufacturing electronic components, assembling the device, and transporting it thousands of miles across the globe. Only then do we finally get to your daily use. Every single step along that journey demands massive amounts of energy.
But here's the kicker. The really crucial point. If we're just looking at a single router, or a printer, or one smartphone, the energy consumption might look pretty tiny. But we aren't talking about one device. We are talking about billions, literally billions of devices operating simultaneously all around the globe. When you multiply that single footprint by billions, the scale of the energy demand completely transforms our understanding of the climate challenge.
And wait, it definitely doesn't stop at the hardware sitting in your house. We all love to use the word cloud, right? It sounds so light and airy. But the internet is not magic. It relies on a massive, super heavy physical infrastructure. When you open up your favorite app, that data isn't traveling by sorcery.
That data actually lives in data centers. And man, these are immense, physical buildings scattered all over the world, housing thousands and thousands of servers. They are running 24/7, which requires unbelievable amounts of electricity and giant cooling systems just to keep the whole setup from melting down. Add in the explosion of high-definition video, gaming, and AI, that hunger for power is just skyrocketing.
Okay, before we get too gloomy here, because I know it sounds a bit intense, let's be absolutely clear about something. Technology itself is not the enemy. The root problem is really how we produce our energy, manufacture our goods, and handle our waste. The flip side is that technology is exactly the tool we need to transition towards smart solutions, renewable energy, and highly efficient design.
To solve this root problem, we're looking heavily toward renewable energy sources. We're talking solar power converting sunlight, wind turbines capturing air movement, and hydropower harnessing water. Moving away from fossil fuels is absolutely critical, but getting there requires huge technological advancements, like upgrading our global electrical grids and inventing way better battery storage.
And the really amazing news? Technology is absolutely stepping up to the plate here. We're now using AI to predict and analyze energy usage in buildings. Smart cities are actually managing traffic flows to cut down on congestion and emissions. We've got smart agriculture optimizing water and fertilizer, and super efficient sensors monitoring electricity in factories. Tech is doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
It really just comes down to this one simple truth. Technology is a tool. It can be used in a way that worsens the problem, or it can be used to help solve it. The exact same computer drawing power from the grid can be used by an engineer to design a zero-emission building. The tech isn't inherently good or bad, it's basically a mirror of our choices.
Which brings us directly to you and me. I mean, looking at this massive global infrastructure, it's so easy to feel overwhelmed and just think, can one person actually change anything? It feels like a drop in the ocean. But the resounding answer is yes, absolutely. Because millions of small, conscious decisions, that creates a tidal wave of impact.
So let's get practical for a second. What can you actually do today? Well, there are everyday choices entirely in your control. Turn off devices immediately when you aren't using them. Use those built-in power-saving settings. Don't just leave things running idly in the background for no reason. And, when you do have to buy something new, seek out energy-efficient electronics. Every single kilowatt saved is a tiny victory for the planet.
And speaking of buying new things, here is literally one of the most powerful actions you can take. Keep your devices longer. Remember that massive, exhausting supply chain journey we looked at earlier? By just resisting the urge to upgrade a perfectly fine phone, you single-handedly stop the demand for an entire cycle of new mining, manufacturing, and global transport. That is huge.
But look, eventually, devices do die. It happens. But those old phones, computers, monitors, and used batteries, they are packed with incredibly valuable materials that can and should be reused. If we just toss them in the random trash, heavy metals and chemicals leak into landfills and become toxic environmental hazards. Proper e-waste recycling is absolutely vital here.
Ultimately, this whole thing, it's all about conscious digital consumption. We don't need to stop using technology. That would be a huge step backward. Instead, just use the digital services you truly need. Cut the digital waste. Start asking yourself, where did this come from? How much energy went into manufacturing this? And where is it going to go when I'm finally done with it?
So the future isn't just about creating shiny new technology. It's really about the consciousness with which we apply it. The question that will define the world we leave behind isn't whether tech is good or bad. It's simply, how do we use it? Let's make sure we're using humanity's most powerful tool to protect our planet. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you next time.